Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're breaking down the ultimate 2026 clash between two absolute tech titans, Apple and Samsung. If you're planning your next big laptop upgrade, well, you're in the exact right place. We're going to cut right through all that marketing noise, look strictly at the data, and figure out which machine actually deserves your hard-earned cash this year.
You know, those old smartphone wars, they're basically over. Done. The real battle today is all about the ecosystem, and specifically about which laptop is going to anchor your digital life seamlessly. It really isn't just about the phone in your pocket anymore, is it? It's about how that phone talks to your computer, your smartwatch, your tablet, and yeah, maybe even your smart fridge when you're suddenly out of milk.
To settle the score, we're pitting Apple's fanless marvels, specifically their brand new 15-inch MacBook Air M4 and that wildly aggressive MacBook Neo, right against Samsung's heavy hitters. We're talking about those impressive Intel-powered OLED machines, the Galaxy Book 4 Pro and the Galaxy Book 6. It is a true head-to-head championship bout.
Okay, let's look at the tail of the tape. We're judging these heavyweights across 5 rounds. Raw performance, design and ports, battery and thermals, ecosystem integration, and finally, the final verdict. All right, let's jump straight into round 1, raw performance. This is our under-the-hood benchmark clash. Right out of the gate, Apple establishes some serious dominance. In the Cinebench multi-core processing tests, the MacBook Air M4 pulls a massive score of 791. That easily outpaces the Intel Core Ultra 7 inside the Galaxy Book 6, which taps out at 622. That is a solid 27% advantage for Apple when you're trying to crunch through heavy multi-core tasks. But, what does that actually mean for your day-to-day? Well, the really crucial point here is this multiplier, 3.3. When compiling the Firefox web browser from its source code, the Apple M4 chip did the job 3.3 times faster than the Samsung. We're talking 19 minutes on the Mac versus a sluggish 63 minutes on the Samsung. For software developers, that's not just a benchmark. That's 44 minutes of waiting entirely eliminated on just one task. Imagine the time you get back over a whole week.
And hey, for the creative pros out there doing 3D rendering, it's the exact same story. The MacBook Air just totally pulls away. On the Blender Monster benchmark, Apple more than doubles the performance of the Galaxy Book 6. The M4 scores a 510, absolutely dwarfing the 235 from the Book 6's Intel Arc graphics. When pushed to the absolute limit, Apple just leaves them in the dust.
But raw speed isn't the whole shebang, right? Let's move to round 2, design and ports, the connectivity and display clash.
This is where Samsung lands a massive right hook. While Apple is still sticking to its classic liquid retina LED screen capped at a 60Hz refresh rate, Samsung delivers this stunning dynamic AMOLED 2X touchscreen. You're getting those famously deep OLED blacks, plus double the refresh rate at 120 Hz. That means super smooth scrolling and just a much more vibrant, responsive vibe every single time you open the laptop. And let's talk about connectivity, because Samsung takes a total victory lap here. Apple famously stripped almost everything off their Air lineup except USB-C ports. But Samsung? They fully embrace practicality. The Galaxy Book 6 gives you HDMI, traditional USB-A, a microSD slot, and even a hardwired RJ45 Ethernet port built natively into the chassis. If you absolutely despise carrying around a bag full of dongles just to plug in a monitor, Samsung wins this hands down. Stepping into round 3, battery and thermals. Let's highlight the heat and see how these machines handle a real workday.
Okay, 96. That intense number is the peak temperature in degrees Celsius that the Galaxy Book 6 hits under a sustained load. That is blistering hot. The Intel chip inside literally requires serious active cooling so it doesn't just completely melt down when you're rendering a heavy video file. And to deal with all that heat, the Galaxy Book 6 has to spin up its fans, putting out an audible 43 decibels. It kind of sounds like a mini jet engine revving up on your desk. Meanwhile, the MacBook Air, it remains astonishingly silent under the exact same workload, for one simple reason: it doesn't even have a fan. 0 decibels. Apple also takes the endurance round with ease. Because that M4 chip is so wildly power efficient, the MacBook Air easily delivers a full 10 to 12 hours of mixed-use battery life. The Samsung, despite actually having a physically larger battery inside, only nets about 7.5 hours. That's literally the difference between leaving your charger at home or anxiously hunting for a wall outlet at 2 p.m.
Round 4, ecosystem integration. It's time for the software battle, looking at how these devices fit into your life. I absolutely love how one of our sources described this. They said Apple's ecosystem operates like an expensive butler who never complains. It really is the ultimate cult of convenience. Features like Universal Clipboard, where you copy a link on your iPhone and instantly paste it on your Mac, or just using your iPad as a second wireless monitor, make it incredibly sticky. Once you're in, everything just talks to everything else with zero setup.
But Samsung has a fantastic counterpunch here: pure flexibility. With their QuickShare and SmartThings apps, Samsung beautifully bridges the gap between Android and Windows. You can mirror your phone right to your PC and connect a huge open variety of third-party smart home gadgets. Where Apple forces you into a closed system, Samsung actually plays nice with the outside world.
All right, we've made it to the final round, the final verdict. Let's guide you to the right purchase based on everything we've uncovered.
Real quick, before we call the winner, we have to talk about the broader market context. Apple's $599 MacBook Neo totally shook things up this year. It essentially forced Windows laptops to step up their game in 2026, pushing them to offer much better budget value just to stay relevant. It's a fierce market out there right now.
So let's break it down. Crown Apple your winner if you absolutely prioritize top-tier, dead-silent performance, if you need marathon battery life that never quits on you, and you are totally happy living inside Apple's seamless walled garden where your AirPods and iPhone just work beautifully together. The Mac is absolutely your machine.
On the flip side, you gotta hand the belt to Samsung if you are totally over the dongle life and demand native ports built right in. If you crave that buttery smooth 120Hz OLED touchscreen and you value a flexible, open digital life that bridges Windows and Android, Samsung is without a doubt your champion.
So it really boils down to this. Do you prefer the safety of a perfect walled garden or the freedom of a smart jungle? I'll leave you with that to ponder as you decide which ecosystem truly deserves your hard-earned cash. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, happy upgrading!